Around this time last year, I made a video showcasing some leftover development items that were still inside Uncharted 4, and there was a cut level that I showed off at the end. I recently rewatched that video and I found that there's a lot more that I could have told you, and certainly with stuff that I found since then, to, I suppose, better explain it and give you some more information about that level. So here is just a kind of fly around of the whole map, and then after that we're going to get into some of the content that I'm able to re-enable that was supposed to be within this little level. So here we have Uncharted 4, and I want to show you something. If we open up the debug menu and go to the task list, I want you to take a look at the top one here, Boat Intro. If we go into that, take a look at the list of tasks here. Notice how the last one is called Full Storm. Okay, just keep that in mind. If we go a little bit further down the list then to the ones called Open Water and Island, this is chapter 12 and 13, notice how it's just these two chapters. There's nothing in between them, nothing at all, right? So, keeping that in mind, let's move over to the multiplayer beta. The multiplayer beta originally ran back in December of 2015, and that's a good few months before the game came out, so there's a good chance that there are some different things within this build of the game. And if only we had access to the debug menu, we could check them. Oh, look at that, we have access to the debug menu. So if we check the task list in this one, and if we have a look at the lists at the top, you can notice that the boat intro is completely missing. And if we move down the list, you can see that between Open Water and Island, we have a new level called Boat Chase. And in there we have very similar tasks to the boat intro level, but with two extra ones, Boat Crash and Boat Swim Debris. Now that's a bit strange, don't you think? But if we look in the island level, we also have Island Shore Swim, which is also a new addition to the island list. Now, why is that? Well, originally the game started with the orphanage chapter, but they found that that wasn't quite exciting enough, so they took the boat chase sequence, moved it from the middle of the game to the start of the game, changed it into an intro, and trimmed some of the fat off of it. And in doing so, we lost some of these extra tasks, of which this test level was a part of. During my examination into this test level, I was able to find a few objects and scripts associated with it that I was able to get reactivated and working, at least enough to show you in this video. Some files that are needed are either not present in the game or are present, but I just can't enable them due to my knowledge just not quite being there. But as you can see, we still have some representation of what this level might have been. We have a boat upright in the water and an enemy gunboat sitting ready to start patrolling. Now we're going to get back to those in a second. If we take a look under the water, you can see what looks to be a second layer of water, but it's actually a bunch of individual waves, pre-shaped, ready to start moving up and down to simulate stormy weather. Obviously intended only for this test level, but cool to see nonetheless. And then there's this thing, which appears to be a strange, multicoloured, blocky version of a wave, certainly according to its file name, that seems to disappear as soon as the player spawns in, so I'm not too sure what its intended purpose is. Maybe again something I can't fully reactivate due to my more limited knowledge, but either way, let's move on. If we spawn in the player, it seems to set a few scripts into motion. The waves start moving up and down, the enemy patrol boat starts driving off, and the upright boat starts to slowly sink into the water. Now, aside from these few objects, there's not an awful lot more to this level. There's nothing to interact with. There is no way for you to go anywhere since all the mountains in the distance lack collision, so you just fall right through them, so you can't complete this per se, since this is just a testing ground for what would have become a level had they not cut it from the game. We can try to follow the patrol boat to try to see where it goes or if it will actually react to the player, but unsurprisingly, no, it doesn't. Both this boat and the sinking boat lack collision also, and they don't react to the player at all. In fact, this boat, despite it being a boat that's supposed to be, I suppose, searching for the player, that's the idea, is it's trying to find you, it goes in the complete opposite direction of where you are and just seems to go to the left a little bit and then completely stop. I had thought this might be, you know, it might come back around and try to find you, but it just stops. So there's not an awful lot that it does, but it is still interesting to see the path that it takes, so I'll speed the footage up and let you see it. Looking at this from an overhead view, you can much more clearly see not only how the waves are moving up and down, but also the quite harsh difference in lighting between the waves and the static water. So I wanted to try to find a way to fix this issue. So I tried loading in the weather and lighting that's usually applied during the starting boat sequence of the game, and to my surprise it actually completely fixed the issue. Not only does the level feel more appropriate now, but it also blends the waves in with the normal water. And I suppose that's all I can show you. There's nothing more that I can get to work in this level. There is something else that I noticed mentioned in the files though, and that is at some point, presumably during the start of this test level, Sam was supposed to be spawned in and start swimming away from you, and you were supposed to call out to him and try to catch up with him and then get separated, which would then transition, I suppose, normally into you waking up on the beach and trying to find him on land. And that would probably be the end of the level then. So it's rather interesting to see this kind of missing link from the main game now have a slight better visual representation as to what happens between those 2 points. But yeah, I suppose all you can think of is what could have been. But that's it, I suppose. So thank you for watching and listening to me ramble, incoherently almost. But yeah, I'll see you next time.